On June 18th, Tay Keith was found dead in his Nashville apartment. No foul play is suspected. His cause of death is unclassified pending autopsy. And right now, that's all anyone actually knows. Metro Nashville police said Bratavius Chambers, known to the world as Grammy-nominated producer Tay Keith, was found by officers performing a welfare check at his apartment on Martin Street. The check was reportedly initiated because people close to him had grown concerned when they couldn't reach him. They called the police. The police found him unresponsive. Nobody had heard he was sick. Nobody saw this coming. Just weeks earlier, on May 7th, he'd posted on Instagram promoting Chris Brown's new single, Call Your Name, featuring Sexy Red and Glorilla, doing exactly what he always did, putting the spotlight on someone else's work instead of his own. That was the last the public heard from him. The industry's reaction was immediate. Blockboy JB, his childhood friend and longtime collaborator, shared a throwback photo of the two of them as kids, with a caption that just read, "Damn, 'cause you just hurt me bad." Hitkid, another Memphis producer, wrote that he didn't even have the words, that they'd been doing this together since 2010. A writer from Gotham Hip Hop called him one of the best and most influential producers of the past decade, recalling that Tay Keith was one of the first big names to reach out and show him love for no reason at all. And producer Bandboy posted one of the rawest tributes of the day, writing that this was the closest death he'd ever experienced personally, thanking Tay Keith for being his first real big brother in the industry and for bringing him to places nobody had asked him to bring him. He wrote that he genuinely didn't know where he'd be without him. Not figuratively, literally. Those aren't industry statements. Those are people breaking down in public, and that tells you something about who Tay Keith was beyond the production credits. To understand why his death hit this hard, you have to understand where he came from. Born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, he started making beats at 14, with no industry connections, no shortcuts, just a kid uploading music to YouTube and DatPiff. He absorbed the Memphis sound early, that dark, raw, unapologetic energy pioneered by acts like 3-6 Mafia and 8 Ball and MJG, and it never left his production, no matter who he was working with later. He met Blockboy JB around that same age, and the two of them started grinding together long before either name meant anything outside their city. His career took its first real step in 2015 working with Black Youngsta, and Memphis started paying attention, even if the rest of the country hadn't caught on yet. Then, in 2018, his work with Blockboy JB caught Drake's attention, and the resulting collaboration, Look Alive, changed everything. The Drake-assisted single peaked at number 5 on the Hot 100, and from there, the trajectory became almost impossible to comprehend for a kid who'd been making beats in his bedroom a few years earlier. His producer tag became one of the most recognizable in rap, attached to work for Drake, Travis Scott, Meek Mill, 21 Savage, Future, 6ix9ine, Megan Thee Stallion, Lil Nas X, Migos, and more. He emerged right as hip-hop's regional walls were coming down, and he walked straight through that opening with a Memphis sound the entire country couldn't get enough of. The numbers back up just how rare his run actually was. 11 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. 4 #1 records, including Travis Scott's Sicko Mode and Drake's First Person Shooter. He holds the record for most #1s on the Hot R&B hip-hop songs chart this decade. 6 of them, more than anyone else. He won a Grammy for his work on Sicko Mode, a song that didn't just chart, it changed how people thought about structure in hip-hop entirely. He was still a college student when he helped produce it. His catalog also includes Drake's Nonstop, Beyoncé's Before I Let Go, Eminem's Not Alike, and as he moved into solo credit, he executive produced Sexy Red's Hood Hottest Princess and her breakout hits Pound Town and Ski Yee. Pound Town itself debuted at number 66 on the Hot 100. His first appearance on the chart as a lead artist, after years of putting other people there. Forbes named him to their 30 Under 30 music list in 2025, and by then he'd already won BMI's Producer of the Year 3 separate times. His most recent credits included work for Jack Harlow, A$AP Rocky, and Megan Thee Stallion in 2024 and 2025. He was still actively working right up until the end, with no signs of slowing down. What people who actually knew him kept coming back to, though, wasn't the chart stats. It was how quiet he was in person. For someone whose tag was one of the loudest sounds in modern hip-hop, Tay Keith the person was the opposite of his beats. Not chasing cameras, not loud in interviews, just working. In a 2022 Rolling Stone interview, He talked about how Memphis shaped everything, saying he was born into it and raised in it, that Memphis music was all he and his family ever listened to. That foundation showed up in every record he touched, no matter who was rapping over it. He was also already thinking past himself. One colleague mentioned they'd discussed creating a scholarship in his name, building something that would trace his own path from Memphis to Nashville to Atlanta to LA for the next generation coming up behind him. He'd helped mentor and uplift Memphis talent like Blockboy JB and Black Youngsta directly, and he was building Dramatized, his own label designed to keep pouring back into the city that made him. Nobody knew how soon all of that would matter. The fan response after the news broke matched the weight of everything above. One person online called him arguably the greatest Memphis producer of all time, pointing out what he'd accomplished in his 20s before dying at 29 as honestly mind-blowing. And that's really the part that makes this loss so hard to sit with. 29 isn't even close to peak production age for most people in this business. He was still evolving, still launching new artists, still building infrastructure that was meant to outlast any single hit record. Right now, the cause of death remains pending autopsy, and police have said there are no immediate signs of foul play, though the investigation is still ongoing. Until those results come back, the people who loved his music, and the people who loved him personally, are sitting in a strange kind of suspended grief, mourning someone without yet understanding what actually happened. But here's what doesn't depend on that autopsy report. The legacy is already locked in. It's already in the speakers, already on the playlists, already in the DNA of every producer who studies those drum patterns, trying to figure out how one guy from Memphis built a sound that worked equally well in a club, a cookout, or a stadium. That's not something you can manufacture. That's a gift you get once a generation. And Tay Keith spent his entire short career sharing it with everyone around him instead of hoarding it for himself. A welfare check on a Thursday afternoon, officers showing up because the people who cared about him couldn't reach him anymore. That's how this story is currently being told. But the fuller story, the one Memphis already knows, the one Drake and Beyoncé and Travis Scott and an entire generation of producers know, is the one that doesn't end with an apartment on Martin Street. It ends with a sound that isn't going anywhere. Rest in peace, Tay Keith. Drop your favorite record he produced in the comments, and subscribe for updates as more information comes out.